Yeah, I've heard the advice too, like put it on an online account so it's separate than your checking account statement. But that was a great tip too, because saving percentage as your income grows, you're just automatically still putting that away without even thinking about it instead of the dollar
Exactly.
amount.
Exactly. Because you always have to pay yourself first because
Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I'm your host, Angela Duncan, speaker, best-selling author, serial entrepreneur. We talk all things money and business. Today's episode, I get to interview Sydney Balick, and she is the co-founder of Wealth Insured. She's going to talk about the importance of having big goals, great mentors, and one piece of advice that she has for you in building wealth. Hi, Sydney. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. How are you today?
hey, I'm doing so awesome. Thank you for having me this morning. I really, really appreciate it.
Yes, and you're wearing my signature pink today. I went with white, but you've got that pink on for the audience that might be able to watch the video this morning.
Yes, I was hoping you would notice. I'm very on brand with the Empower Her today. So,
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show, Sydney. I would love for you to start with your story and your background and kind of how you got to what you're doing today.
yeah, absolutely. So, I actually started right out of high school when I graduated. I was 18 years old and I really didn't want to go to college. I really always wanted to be a business owner and entrepreneur, and I just didn't see college as the avenue to get me there. There's nothing wrong with college, but for me, I was like, I just don't see how that's going to get me where I want to go. So I did a lot of miscellaneous things. I sold phone cases door to door. Like I was just very much trying to figure out how to make money and what I was going to do. And one day, someone gave me a call and said, "Hey, I just helped your grandma out with insurance, and we wanted to know if you were open to making any extra money." And I was like, I don't know, tell me more. And they were like, well, without thinking you sound crazy, how much money do you really want to be making? So remember, I'm 18 years old. And I said, about 40,000. And he was like, oh, 40,000 a year. And I was like, no, a month. And what really got me interested in the business is that he didn't blow me out of the water and say, like, oh, yeah, that's crazy. You can't, he really encouraged my dreaming. And he was like, that's so awesome. Don't let anyone take that away from you. And let me tell you, we have people in this business making that kind of money and more. So if you just come in and follow the process, you can do the same thing. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can follow instructions. I'm good with that. I don't know anything. I'm 18. So if you tell me that I can make money, you know how to do it, let's go. So that's exactly what I did. I got started and I really just stuck to the system that was in place. And since then, I'm 27 now. And since then, I have made that much, in a month and more. So he was 100% right. But now I'm passionate about helping other people get to the same place and achieve, whatever it is that they want to make too. So it's been a blessing. It's been extremely cool. I met my husband doing this. So now he and I have an agency together. So it's been awesome. It's been a wild ride, but it's been a blessing for sure.
What I love about your story is that you weren't afraid to make the ask and you had big goals, right? And it is true. Sometimes as we're starting off in our careers, when we talk about our big dreams, other people and their own insecurities, whatever it is, want to shoot your dreams down. But you found someone who said, awesome, let's do it. And then kind of
Right.
showed you the way. But you also had to put in a lot of work, right? To start something that you just didn't know anything about.
Oh yeah. Lots of work. And, I really think that that's really where the make or break it happens is that unfortunately, a lot of people underestimate the amount of work that it actually takes to become successful. And that's where a lot of people get turned away because you get met with failure, failure, failure. And a lot of people don't want to keep going through that pain, that rejection, kind of all the trials and tribulations that it takes to get to where you want to go to get to the fruits of your labor. So,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and insurance is such a hot topic. A lot of people don't understand. Like for me, insurance is not an expense, it's an investment. And so, can you talk about a little bit what you enjoy about maybe the education piece when you are helping a family when it comes to insurance?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, we do help families with all different types of life insurance, burial coverage, final expense, but we especially specialize in the retirement aspect, like you said. So not only is an investment in your family's financial future, but also, not only when you pass away, but also while you're still alive. So most of our clients actually use their life insurance as retirement vehicles or funding mechanisms for the businesses that they already have. But just on a basic level, most people don't even know, Angela, the average funeral costs about 10 or $15,000.
Wow.
15,000 is really a bare minimum for a basic funeral. So it's like, God forbid something happened to one of your loved ones today, who really has an extra $10,000 laying around, to be able to help put together a decent funeral for their mom, sister, son, brother, whoever it is. So, for just putting, 30, 40, 50, $80 a month, that's an affordable way for you to be able to leave that legacy behind for your family. It's the only way that people say, oh, well, if I had, of course, if I had money, I would leave it behind. But how does the everyday family leave a substantial amount of money behind if they don't have it accumulated themselves? It's through
Hmm.
insurance.
Yeah.
It's the one of the only ways, if not the only way, that I've ever heard of that you can leave money behind to your family without having really much of your own.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's lots of books that are written on that too. So talk about too, we're going to give some money advice here. You started off in your career, you started doing really well. So it's great that you're making money, but what do you do, after that? Like, how do you keep your money?
Yeah, that's a really great question because one of the biggest misconceptions about making money is that you know what to do with it. And that is a whole another part to learn. It's one thing that you learn how to make it and now you have it and you're like, how do I not, buy everything and anything that I want, right? So, one of the easiest ways is to simply just set aside a goal of how much you're going to save and not a number amount, but a percentage. So it's like every deposit that comes in, I'm going to save 10%. And so it started out very simple and basic for me in that way of just, I'm going to put 10% of every deposit that comes in into a savings account. And now, knowing more about what we do and how we can, save for retirement better, then we put a lot of our money into our, life insurance vehicles as retirement, so we've learned other ways to put the money away and grow it from there. But it's just for anybody who's not saving already, just simply have the habit of just moving the money into a separate account and don't look at it.
Yeah, I've heard the advice too, like put it on an online account so it's separate than your checking account statement. But that was a great tip too, because saving percentage as your income grows, you're just automatically still putting that away without even thinking about it instead of the dollar amount.
Exactly. Because you always have to pay yourself first, because the mistake a lot of people make is that they say, okay, at the end of the month is when I'm going to save the money, right? When after all my bills are paid, like, no, you pay yourself first, because I don't know about you guys, but if the money's sitting there, you're going to find something to spend it on, whether it's even just simply eating out one extra time or going to a restaurant. And I'm not saying to not enjoy those things, but if you just pay yourself first, then at least you know that you've got you taken care of, for your future, and then you can have the other money for your now fun, right? So yeah, 100%, you want to make sure that as soon as the money hits, that's when you transfer it, because the mistake a lot of people make is they get to the end of the month and they're like, oh, well, now I don't feel comfortable saving it because I don't feel like I have enough.
Hmm. Great advice there too. You started your career pretty young and going through, you're in the same industry, which is awesome because you've really had a chance to become an expert in your field. But I'm sure it wasn't all about success. Can we talk about some of maybe failures that people go through that you could give some advice on?
Oh man, yes. It's interesting because what we say in our business is you can outsource a lot of the knowledge. You can outsource the product knowledge, you can outsource scripts, you can outsource presentation, how to talk to a client and things like that. But what you can't outsource is your self-image and your self-worth.
Mm.
We can't want anything for you more than you want it for yourself. And I think when the doubt comes in and the doubt sets in, like, we're our biggest, worst enemy, right? We're inherently, as humans, inherently negative. So if you have if you had a void in your brain and you have something negative and you say, okay, well, I'm not going to be negative anymore, and you don't fill it back in with something positive, you just have that empty space for the negative to creep back in. So the biggest thing is when people come in is we work with them so much on mindset, because what you think about and what you believe about yourself and what you can accomplish is the biggest reason that you're either going to make it or you're not going to make it. So we're big on helping people not just take away the negative, but fill it with something more positive. So we're huge on self-development, audios, books. Leaders are readers. So we're huge on just self-empowerment, self-knowledge, because that's really at the end of the day, because people could say, oh, well, I failed because I didn't know, the proper techniques. I failed because this. No, you failed because you didn't believe you could succeed.
Mm.
And that's what it is at the end of the day. So the biggest thing that we work with people on is just how they feel about themselves and what they feel like they can really accomplish.
Do you feel like as a business owner, do you get the opportunity to help your employees with that now?
Absolutely. And that's one of my favorite things about it, is that we get to help people both, with their financial situations and put them in a better situation, but also like seeing the transformation of people where they started when they, came to us and where they end up or where they grow to. That's probably one of the most fulfilling parts, because I wouldn't have made it in our business if I didn't have people that showed me the way. So now to get to kind of pay that forward is ultimately really the reason that we do what we do.
Awesome. Amazing. All right. So final tip for our listeners, as a business owner, as a mompreneur, what's one final tip you want to give to the audience?
One final tip I would say is that you have to want it for yourself more than anybody wants it for you. Because at the end of the day, I'm a new mom. I just had, my first child. She's almost 8 months old now. And I have every excuse in the world to not do business, to not be on this podcast right now, to not have the grand opening ceremony we just had at our office yesterday. But there's always going to be something, right? Like, there's always a reason, there's always an excuse, because if you truly want something, you will find a way to make it happen. So my biggest thing is just dig deep, have people around you that are where you want to go, and just surround yourself with a group of people who are going to get you to where you want to be. Because the worst thing you can do is be going through something negative, already having that hinder you in your experience and not going where you want to go. And then also being surrounded by people who are not where you want to be. Like, nothing will hold you back more than that. So I would just say, come up with a plan, get with people who are where you want to be, and just don't make excuses. Just go all out and go for it.
Perfect. All right, Sydney, if our audience wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sydney Balick. That's my first and last name. My last name with 2 Ks at the end. And you can also find me on our website at www.wealth-insured.com. Please get in touch with us, because the biggest misconception about life insurance is that it's a scam. There's so many things out there that say, hey, this is a bad thing, but that's old news. We're here to show you that what is available. Like, don't let what you think you know about life insurance keep you back from what you need to know about having life insurance. So please get in touch with us. We would love to come up with a customized plan for you and see how we can actually help your family get into a better place. So
Awesome. Thank you, Sydney, for your time today.
thank you, Angela. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Empower Her Money podcast. I am grateful for you. Please make sure to leave us a 5-star review, like this podcast, share it, subscribe, and let's keep teaching others how to take control and be empowered with their finances.